This episode is chock full of information I think you need to know. We will be speaking to an attorney who will update us about changes regarding FHA. We will learn about how we can help our environment and save money by making small changes. And our last guest is a registered dietitian. She will discuss children eating right and interviewed by me and our youth correspondent. So, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here. Well, welcome to the show, attorney Bruce McBarnett. It's a pleasure to have you and so glad to hear more about FHA. Well, first, tell me a little bit about you.
Well, it's always a pleasure being here on your show, Ingrid. And some of the things that I have been able to be involved in that has allowed me to be involved with information dealing with FHA. I used to practice law for the Federal Housing Administration, Fannie Mae, the Federal National Mortgage Administration. Fannie Mae is a large government-sponsored entity which is involved with the purchase of mortgage loans. FHA, the Federal Housing Administration, which we're going to talk about, is another organization which is part of a much larger organization called HUD. HUD is Housing and Urban Development. And Housing and Urban Development is the parent organization for FHA. FHA provides a guarantee on mortgage loans that people take out in order to purchase more homes. And consequently, since FHA provides a guarantee for first-time home buyers to acquire mortgage loans, it makes it a lot easier for people to acquire mortgage loans than they otherwise would be able to do. And
that's important to know because that was my question. It was like, what's the purpose of it? And FHA, and you were just saying it insures. You tell me a little bit.
Yes, FHA provides a guarantee to the mortgage loans that people obtain in order to purchase property. It's designed to make it easier for first-time home buyers to acquire property, and it does that by guaranteeing the mortgage loans that banks issue to first-time home buyers. And by guaranteeing the mortgage loan that banks issue to first-time home buyers, banks are more willing to issue loans. And consequently, as a result of that, you have an industry where you can have more readily available capital for first-time home buyers. And that is the purpose of FHA. It's been around since 1934 in order to facilitate and add strength to the housing market. And when I used to be involved with practicing law for Fannie Mae, a lot of the issues that we would deal with in that office dealt with concerns dealing with FHA mortgage loans.
Wow.
And since that time, I've started my own real estate investment company, and I also, in addition to investing in real estate, also broker real estate as well through Olympic Realty.
So let me ask you a couple of questions. There are changes that have been made regarding FHA.
Yes.
What are the changes?
Yes. The principal change that has been made with respect to FHA loans is that now you have to pay a higher rate for the PMI premium. The PMI premium is the private mortgage insurance premium. It's typically been 1.25%. Now it's 1.35% of the principal on the mortgage loan. And what that means is it's gone up by 0.10% of the principal. The significance of that is it makes it more expensive to acquire private mortgage insurance on the FHA mortgage loan. The FHA mortgage guarantee requires that those people who obtain this type of guarantee, they also have to pay for private mortgage insurance. What private mortgage insurance does is it provides protection to FHA in the event that there's a default on the mortgage loan. A certain portion of that mortgage loan would be paid back through the private mortgage insurance.
So a homeowner, a prospective homeowner, how will that really change for me, say if I'm in the housing market?
Good question. The significance for the individual who's looking to acquire a property is that it's going to be a little bit more expensive to acquire FHA guarantee financing, which means that the process of buying a home becomes a little bit more expensive. However, the good news is that despite that, FHA guarantees are still very, very competitive relative to other types of mortgage loans, conventional mortgage loans that you can get out there on the market. So being able to get a FHA guaranteed mortgage loan is still a very appealing option for somebody who's going to acquire a house for the first time.
Oh, excellent. So that would be really very helpful for them to do that. Is that something that that you generally talk to people about? And
yes, good question. Many of the people who are seeking to purchase properties through me, whom I'm assisting in acquiring properties for them, one of the things that I counsel them on are the pros and cons of going through FHA financing if they are eligible for it. To be eligible, they have to be a first-time home buyer. And it's very important for them to understand the different options available to them. And this has always been a very good option. It's not quite as good as it has been in the past because of some of these changes, but it's still a very viable option. One of the reasons why the changes have occurred is that the FHA has a certain reserve that it must maintain of money to cover any potential losses. That reserve has gone down as a result of the meltdown in the mortgage market in 2007, and consequently, they need to be able to raise more funds to replenish that reserve.
well, it's really wonderful to hear that, because one of the things that I know that when we were getting ready to buy our first home many years ago, it's very important. Those are the kinds of things that first-time home, buyers are very much interested in. As you look out there in terms of what homeowners or prospective buyers should be doing, what's your suggestion? If you give them one suggestion of what they need to be doing, what piece of advice would you give them?
Well, one piece of advice I would certainly recommend to people when it comes to buying a home is to make sure that they get a good realtor who can assist them in getting an evaluation of what the home is worth. Whenever you're buying or selling, it's very important that you get a good idea of just what is the value of that property. So many home buyers and home sellers are under a misconception as to what the actual market value is of the property. If you know what the market value is, then you know what to sell it for. Or if you're buying, then you know what to buy it for. So getting that market evaluation done is very important.
Well, Bruce, you certainly have educated me, and I'd like to thank you for being on the show. I learned a lot about FHA and what we need to really start taking a look at, if you're going to sell or if you're going to buy, from both perspectives. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. It's a pleasure being on your show.
Welcome to the show, Ted Tribune. I am so glad you could join us.
Thank you for having me here this afternoon. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about our program.
Well, tell me about the company that you represent.
Sure. We're the DC Sustainable Energy Utility, and we've been around for about 2 years now. We were created by the Council of the District of Columbia back in 2008, but it wasn't until about 2 years ago that we actually started operations in Washington, D.C., helping serve all residents, businesses, low-income residents as well, with energy efficiency programs and renewable programs.
Oh, that's rather exciting. So tell me about, so you're helping district residents. What's some of your successes?
We've had a lot of successes to date. I'd like to start with the people first. Yes. First of all, we've hired over 25 individuals to work at our organization. Each and every one of them was a resident of the District of Columbia. And secondly, we've been able to serve a number of small businesses, large businesses, and residents throughout the city. We have served, many of you and your viewers have probably been to Ben's Chili Bowl. We were able to do all of the lighting in Ben's Chili Bowl. You'll see a new, lighter brighter look in Ben's Chili Bowl. We also did lighting at the Air and Space Museum. We've done lighting at Bender Arena on American University's campus, did the whole gymnasium there. So we do a number of lighting projects all over the city, but we've served over 18,000 households in the 2 years that we've been in existence.
That is absolutely amazing. I mean, just to think about, you almost not sleep. Sounds like it.
We have a really, really good staff, and they work very hard, and it's great work, and we're so committed to the mission of the organization.
So what are some of the energy tips that they're doing that your businesses are using?
Well, it's much more than lighting. Let's talk about lighting initially, because lighting is about 20% of your average homeowner's bill. So your lighting cost typically in a home over the course of a year are about $200. We'll get into how you can reduce that portion of your bill in a minute. But other portions of your bill, things like your appliances, your refrigerator. Here's a good tip for all of your listeners.
Okay.
At the bottom of your refrigerator, there's a large vent, and you can remove that vent, and behind the vent you'll find a coil, much like you would see in a radiator of a car. Take a whisk broom, take your vacuum cleaner, clean out all of that area around the bottom of the refrigerator, and then pull your refrigerator about 1/4 to 1/2 inch away from the wall if you can. This will allow your refrigerator to breathe more easily, and if it can breathe easier, it'll save energy. It takes less energy to run it, you'll save money. Second, let's talk about your air conditioning system, because we're getting into heating season very soon. It's one of those important things to make sure, first of all, you change your filter. And second, call a professional to make sure that your air conditioner is operating at optimal efficiency. It's very, very important to make sure that the facilities and the devices within your home are operating at peak capacity.
You know, that really makes perfect sense, is that it's about peak. And you really want to make sure that, you know, you're saving money. And in these times, I think that's what we're all interested in. So you have this wonderful demonstration here about saving. And can you show us about kind of energy that we're using?
Sure. Let me first take this example over here. This is an electric meter, like you would typically find in a residential household.
All right.
And what we have here is an incandescent bulb, which has been the workhorse in the lighting industry for the last century or so. Right. And what we have here is a CFL, a compact fluorescent. I want to show you, when I turn on the incandescent bulb over here, you can see the rate of speed at which the meter is turning.
I see that.
Take a look at how that meter slows down when I put in the CFL.
Ooh.
The CFL, same amount of brightness as the incandescent bulb,
Same amount.
much less energy used. In your typical house, you'll have about 20 light bulbs.
Okay.
So if you multiply this equation here by 20, you can really begin to see the difference in the amount of energy used with the regular incandescent bulb versus these bulbs here. Traditionally in a house, our calculations are, if you replace all of your incandescent bulbs with these complex fluorescent bulbs here, you'll save about $90 a year. The good news is
$90.
about $90 a year, just for this comparison. We'll get into some more efficient lighting in a minute that's even better than the CFL. But the good news is we've been able to work with 6 manufacturers in order to help buy down the cost of this CFL. Prior to our program, these CFLs cost about $3.50 a piece. It was a very good deal in the long run. The CFL lasts about 9 years. Traditional bulbs last about a year.
That's true.
That's true, okay. The CFL now is as little as $1. Incandescent bulbs are about 50 to 60 cents a piece. You can just do the math in terms of 9 years for $1, this at a year, and you're doing this about every year. This lasts about a year, and you've got to replace it.
Or less.
Or less,
or
we can burn them out,
Oh,
depending
yeah.
upon how you use them. And so there's a great amount of savings right there. Then you take the energy savings on top of that.
Wow.
So 1-for-1 comparison, taking out a light, just 1-for-1 will save you about $4.50 in a year.
Oh my gosh.
And then you take this over the lifetime of the bulb, and like I said, you normally have about 20 or so bulbs in your house. But
Okay.
when we move beyond that, we like to talk about the next wave of lighting, which is LED lighting.
Ooh.
LED
Hear a lot
lighting
about that.
is a bit more expensive, but a lot more energy efficient. LED lighting, and I'll show you now. Now this is actually right here. This is another CFL. CFL, and a lot of people said, well, we don't like the CFLs because you can't put them on a lampshade. Well, this solves the problem. As you can see, it looks just like a regular incandescent bulb like this, but that's a CFL. Basically, we just put a cover on top of it. These are available, soon to be available at Giant Foods, but they're available at Safeway and many, many other stores, Home Depot, throughout the region. This bulb over here, conversely, people said, well, CFLs, they're not dimmable. Well, I'm going to solve that as well. Watch. This is a three-way bulb here. You see the light there?
Yes.
Turn it up. Get a third level of brightness.
Oh my goodness.
With this bulb.
That's amazing.
Three-way bulbs.
So
now, the technology has moved so far in the last 3 or 4 years. The technology is absolutely incredible.
Oh my word.
But then we get into some of your LED lighting, and traditionally with lighting we're used to watts. We know a 45
That's
watt
what
bulb.
I remember.
We know a 60 watt bulb or a 100 watt bulb. Now we talk in terms of lumens. And lumens is actually a measurement of the brightness of the bulb. For instance, a bulb that is 60 watts is 800 lumens. A bulb that is 100 watts is 1600 lumens. And so that you don't have to remember all of this.
Okay, thank you.
When we have participating retailers that supply these bulbs, they'll show a chart just like this so that you can see exactly what you're buying bulb for bulb. So if you're used to a certain amount of brightness, if you want a certain amount of brightness in your home, you'll be able to have this chart, which we have in all of the stores where these bulbs are sold, so you can actually understand exactly what it is that you're buying. This takes the guesswork out of it.
Yeah.
But then for your LED lighting, some people have track lighting and things like that. You can see a bulb like this would work very, very well for that.
Yeah.
These are very nice and stylish bulbs as well. Some people don't like to cover them up with light shades. You can see the kind of designs that are designed into this bulb. Very modern look. These bulbs last approximately 20 years. Now they cost between $15 and $30 a piece, and $15 or $30 for a bulb, but we have rebates that are available to buy down the cost of these bulbs by about a third.
Wow.
And when you think about a bulb that'll last you 20 years or so, these are really, really a good buy. And they are incredibly much more efficient even than the CFLs.
And that way we're really helping our environment. We're like green. Oh my goodness.
The idea behind this is to reduce consumption throughout the District of Columbia, to really help alleviate the need for Pepco to build another power plant or bring new transmission lines into the city, so that you would be able to bring in more energy to the city. If we are successful in our mission, we believe investing in energy efficient products and investing in residents of the District of Columbia. As I said, all of the work that we do, we are hiring DC residents, we're putting them to work, we are training them in these technologies, and so we have our social equity goals, as I call it, embedded along with our energy efficiency goals. So it's a beautiful marriage of helping the environment and helping the residents.
It sounds like it's a model for a lot of business to use, because that's
I wish more of them would. Many states throughout the country are starting to set up organizations just like ours.
Oh, yeah.
Sustainable energy utilities, or sometimes they're just called efficiency programs, but no other state in the country has married the energy efficiency with the social equity. 30% of our money must be spent in the low-income community. I'm very, very happy to say that last year we went out and awarded 7 and 8 in the District of Columbia and installed 87 solar panels on single-family homes for low-income residents, reducing the energy bills of those residents by somewhere between $350 and $500 a year. We're going to be doing more of that work in the future, hopefully, as funding is available. But it's really, really a wonderful thing for the residents, and they've been so pleased with the technology we've been able to bring to them.
Well, that is just like a wonderful way to, to wrap up what we've talked about, because one thing is that it's like a model, and I know that this is a program that's benefiting, district residents, but it certainly can benefit me. We all now know how to really save money, cleaning our refrigerator, changing those filters, and now we know what type of bulbs we should be buying.
And don't stop there. We also have Energy Star rated appliances. If you buy an Energy Star rated clothes washer or Energy Star rated refrigerator, we also have rebates available for those technologies as well, and we'll be adding more and more appliances to our offerings in the near future. With the rebates that are available there, an high-efficient clothes washer uses about half the amount
Wow.
of water that a traditional clothes washer uses. An Energy Star rated refrigerator will save you over $1,100 over
Wow.
the lifetime of the refrigerator. So there are also significant savings to be had with some of your other appliances in the house.
Well, Teddy, it's been a pleasure having you here on the show. I wish you all the luck. You're a wonderful business, and I hope that this inspires more people to live more green.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you very much.
again.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us.
Definitely my pleasure. Thank you, Camilla, Rising, and Isis Wallace for coming on the show. It's a pleasure to have both of you.
Glad to join you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Great, great. Well, we are here to talk about food. Is that right, Isis?
Yeah, I love food.
Ooh, me too. So let's first off to find out a little bit about who we're interviewing.
Thank you. So I'm Camilla Rising. I'm a registered dietitian and a public health nutritionist. And I'm also adjunct professor of nutrition at George Mason University right here in Fairfax. And I think really relevant to this conversation, I'm a mother of 2 boys. They're 6 and 8, almost 9. So they're very close to your age, Isis.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about, Kids Eat Right campaign.
I would be happy to. It's definitely something that I'm proud to be a part of. So Kids Eat Right is a joint initiative of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics and the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics Foundation. It started in 2010. And what makes it unique is that it's a member-driven campaign. We have about 73,000 members. And it was started to ensure that sound nutrition advice was part of the larger national initiative to reduce the childhood obesity epidemic, actually to reverse the childhood obesity epidemic within a generation, which that language you might be familiar with is part of First Lady Michelle Obama's Let's Move campaign. So Kids Eat Right is a part of yeah, great.
Isis, you have a question?
How does this campaign help children?
Well, what's really neat is that people like myself as Kids Eat Right volunteers, we get to be right in touch with kids just like you by going into communities around the U.S. and actually even in different countries around the world. And we make eating smart and moving more fun. So we even have trained RD coaches. RD stands for registered dietitian, and they help kids make good choices in the cafeteria. They teach them about nutrition in class and PE. And I've even seen that some children become junior coaches, and they get featured in newsletters that go out to the thousands of members. So
That
kids are an
sounds
important
cool.
part. Yes, very cool.
Well, how does this program help? I think you have another question. You talked about children, and so what kind of foods should children be eating?
Well, I could talk about a lot of different healthy foods, of course, but I was thinking that, I was watching the last episode and I saw, Isis, you were talking about testing. And I know the SOLs are coming up, and so I was thinking about good healthy foods in the context of a really important meal, and that being breakfast. And there's information out there that shows that when kids eat breakfast, that they have better attention in class and focus, and they actually do better on their test scores. And so I have these lovely berries here, these lovely colorful and in-season berries, and I was thinking a really quick breakfast you could make in the morning would be a yogurt parfait, and your parents could help you chop up some berries, and you could have some Greek yogurt in there. Greek yogurt has a
I
little
love
less sugar.
Greek yogurt.
All right, well, you're already on board. And maybe a little low-fat granola, and you can layer it, sprinkle some nuts or seeds on top, and so it's crunchy, lots of textures and colors. That would be a good, easy breakfast for you.
Do you have another question you'd like to ask, Isis?
So what are some foods that you think children should be eating?
Should be eating? Well, like I was saying, I think that fruits and vegetables are really important.
Like what kinds of vegetables?
Well, eating from a variety of fruits and vegetables of different colors is a really important way to go.
I heard before that you should eat a rainbow.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
You took the
you
words
did
out
a lot
of
of
my mouth.
studying. I love this.
That's exactly right. So
Very good.
there are benefits to having all the colors.
And one of the most healthy vegetables and fruit are the green ones.
Well, especially the dark green and the orange ones. They say, so eating from a variety for sure, but those ones have really a big punch of good vitamins in them.
So there's lots of good food. What are things that you say we should not be eating?
Well, actually, registered dietitian nutritionists, they believe in the total diet approach to healthy eating. So what that means is that really all foods can fit in if you consider also moderation and portion size, bless you, and physical activity. But of course there are some foods that we might want to have less of, so foods with added sugars and sodium or salt, and unhealthy fats, saturated fats, and trans fats. So for children, when I think about added sugars, one quick tip would be to have less sweetened beverages. So things like soda and fruit drinks.
These wonderful strawberries.
Yeah, having those instead of having, those honestly are even better than having 100% juice, because you have the fiber, the other benefits of the fruit that you kind of miss out on even with the juice.
So for us to get more information, what's the website that we should be checking out?
To get further information, please see www.eatright.org/kids.
That's right, /kids.
I think you did a wonderful job. Thank you, Isis, for joining me on this interview.
One more thing.
Oh, please do.
In fact, right now, the strawberries right in front of me are making me hungry.
Okay. Hey, and that's a perfect way to end this segment, because by putting food like this in front of you, have an 8-year-old who says, "Hey, I like to eat it."
Yeah.
Thank you
Couldn't be
so
more
much.
perfect. Thank you for having
Camilla,
me.
for joining us, and thank you, Isis, for joining me. I'd like to thank the District of Columbia Sustainable Energy Utility, DCSEU, located at 80 M Street Southeast, Suite 310, Washington, D.C., 2003, for underwriting this episode of Ingrid's World. DCSEU website is dcseu.com. I'd like to thank all of my marvelous guests for making this a wonderful show. Each of you provided us with information that will enrich our lives. So here's my quote for you to think about, which is from Mark Twain. 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones that you did do. So throw off those bowlines, sail away for a wind in your sails, explore, dream, and discover. For more show information, please see ingridsworld.org, and I thank you for tuning in.